In choosing among investment opportunities, we want to choose the one with the highest expected, real, net, average annual rate of return on investment. In the previous video, we saw why we would want to choose the one with the highest average annual rate of return on investment. In this video, we want to treat the net, real, and expected rates of return, what those things are, and why they're important. It is far more important to maximize our net average annual rate of return on investment than it is our gross, if you will, average annual rate of return on investment. The term net in this context means net of taxes, our after-tax rate of return. It's not so much important what we earn, but rather what we get to keep. And we do not get to keep it all because the government is going to make us share. The formula for computing the net or after-tax rate of return on investment is the average annual rate of return on investment times 1 minus the applicable tax rate, ATR, applicable tax rate. Different tax rates will apply to different forms of investment returns. As you know, interest and short-term capital gains are taxed as ordinary income and therefore are subject to your highest marginal tax rates. Long-term capital gains and dividends are taxed at a maximum rate of 15%. And there are a sprinkling of other tax rates that apply to different returns here and there, none of which are important at this point. Notice in this little box here, where there is a sample problem, that the average annual rate of return on investment is expressed as a percentage, while the tax rate is expressed as a decimal. This is a simple convention that eliminates the need to move the decimal place in order to express the net average annual rate of return as a percentage. Let's now consider the real net average annual rate of return on investment. Why do we add in the term real? I'm sure you know that in finance and economics, the term real, the real value of something, refers to the use value of that thing. What is the use value of money or income? Obviously, it gives you the ability to purchase goods and services. So the real value of income is its purchasing power value. And the purchasing power value of some future amount is going to be less than the purchasing power of that amount today because of inflation. So to compute the real rate of return, we need to factor out inflation, which is going to eat into the nominal rate of return. So we compute the real rate of return in the following way. The real rate of return is the nominal rate of return minus the actual rate of inflation. Now, as you can see in the readings, there is a technical adjustment that needs to be made in there known as the Fisher effect. In personal finance, we really don't need to factor in the Fisher effect because the amounts are relatively small. Now, if we were talking about hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, that technical adjustment could be significant. But in personal finance, we can just, kind of forget about it and compute the real rate of return as the nominal rate of return, that is the rate of return in terms of dollars, minus the rate of inflation to get the real rate of return, the rate of return in terms of purchasing power. When I first started investing, which was a long, long time ago, making adjustments for the various rates of inflation was not important. And that is because it was difficult for an average person to invest in some foreign country. And so therefore, by investing only in the United States, your returns on investment were denominated in dollars. That means you received your returns in terms of dollars. Today, however, with the internet, with the click of a mouse, we can invest in pretty much whatever country we want to. It's very, very simple. The problem is, however, there are different inflation rates in different countries. And so we need to net out the rate of inflation in that country to see the degree by which inflation is eating into the purchasing power value of the currency in which your returns will be denominated. For example, if all of my investments were in America, all of my returns would be denominated in dollars. And factoring in inflation would not affect the priority or the ranking of which investment was better than the next. But I know a bank in Argentina that will pay 22 1/8% on a savings account. Now in America, you're doing well to get 0.5% or even 0.25%. But 22 1/8%, come on. How come money isn't flowing out of America and seeking those higher nominal returns in that Argentinian bank? It's because the rate of inflation in Argentina is 22%. And therefore, my real rate of return will be the nominal rate of return, which is 22 1/8, minus the actual rate of inflation, which is 22, leaving me with a 1/8% rate of return on that investment. Now, in reality, I don't know what the rate of inflation is, but it was 22% in 2011. Therefore, it is important to adjust the nominal rate of return by the rate of inflation in the country that issues the currency in which your returns are denominated. If I were to get 22 1/8% on my savings account in Argentina, my returns would be denominated in Argentina pesos. And therefore, I would have to adjust those nominal returns by the rate of inflation in Argentina, the country that issues the peso, that is the currency in which my returns are denominated. So you can see that factoring in the rate of inflation is important, particularly when you are investing in different countries and your returns are denominated in different currencies.